episode of the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander. So, hey, we haven't been with you for about a week now, so, hey, sorry about that. Listen, I was on vacation up in the mountains and was hoping I was going to have enough service to be able to go ahead and record some shows up there, and unfortunately it didn't happen. And, hey, it is what it is. I didn't know it was going to be like that, but I'm sure for the millions and millions of viewers and listeners we have around the world, they were hopefully able to get through their fantasy week all right without us. But you know what? The fact is, it's still only Saturday, and we still have time to listen to our starts and sits for the weekend. So we're going to go through all the games as we always do, with the exception of the Thursday night game. We know we also have a couple of bye week teams this week. The Lions and the Green Bay Packers will both not be playing this week, so a handful of players that could be affected there. But we've got some other good games on the slate, lots of players to talk about, so we're going to jump right in. I just want to go ahead with one more warning for you folks. Now listen, I've been trying to keep myself pretty well disciplined, I guess you would say, but just expect future episodes to have the explicit tag attached to them. You know what? I mean, I keep trying to censor myself, and I'm talking about these players. I get kind of worked up, and you know what? I just want to let it fly. I want to be myself. I want to be able to say what I want to say. So, for those of you with sensitive ears, and hey, if you don't like it, I totally get it. But what the fuck are you gonna do, right? So that's where we're gonna go. Just wanted to let you know. Just gonna let it fly a little bit more, and let's try not to be so buttoned up about it, man. I mean, that's just not me. If you know me, it's not the way I roll. So, all right, let's start with the hometown game here. We're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Falcons are hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Falcons are 0-4. Brutal here. People in Atlanta are not happy. They want Dan Quinn gone, and I totally get it. Listen, you got there, you got to the top, you were ahead big in the Super Bowl, and you gave it up, and it's been nothing but downhill from there. But that being said, for fantasy purposes, the Falcons continue to be very fruitful as a team, and you continue to mine them for points. So let's talk about the guys in this game now. For the Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater is obviously one of the top streaming quarterback options this week, if not the top streamer quarterback, and that's partially due to his play. He's been playing better lately, throwing for a lot of yards in most games, finally getting the ball into the end zone a few times last week. And then also the matchup is just juicy, man. Falcons have been giving up shit ton of points to every team basically every week. Every quarterback throws for multiple 3+ touchdowns on them. It seems like. So the assumption here is you can lock in 250 plus and hopefully 2 touchdowns for Teddy Bridgewater and have yourself a nice week. So if you're Matt Stafford or an Aaron Rodgers owner, maybe you're looking at one of these other matchups you're not thrilled with for your starting quarterback. You might look this way. So I like Bridgewater. I've got Bridgewater going in one of my leagues where I do have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback. So I'm going with Bridgewater over Tannehill, who I actually had on my bench. I dropped Tannehill, picked up Bridgewater. I hear you, but with all the shit going on in Tennessee, I'm fucking over the Titans right now. So that's all my shares in the Titans. Mike Davis, you're playing for another week before Christian McCaffrey comes back. Take advantage of it. Everyone's saying, well, sell high on him, blah, blah. And, he might still have some value when McCaffrey comes back. They might say, hey, he's been so good. How can we not give him any touches at all once he comes back? And I get that. But, when McCaffrey comes back, it's his job. Bigger question for the Panthers is on the outside. This week you're lucky because if you're worried about DJ Moore, you have a smash matchup here. So you want to get DJ Moore in your lineup. And then if after this week DJ Moore is still not producing, then you're definitely getting worried. I mean, you're already worried, but this matchup, you should feel confident to start him. Hopefully you get the points. Robbie Anderson looks freaking great, man. I mean, who knows how much of it was just, being young with Darnold, in his, first couple of seasons and the Gase offense. He could just be another guy that leaves a Gase team and absolutely blows up. And he's looked fantastic. So I think Robbie Anderson is kind of locked in as a back-end, wide receiver 2. And he has wide receiver 1 upside. He is a wide receiver 1. So, I think he's only got 1 touchdown in a year. So, to be a wide receiver 1 with only the 1 touchdown at this point, it is pretty impressive. It goes to show a lot about, about the volume that he's getting. So, I know Ian Thomas, I think, got in the end zone last week. But still, for me, I'm not really thinking about playing him yet. Let's go over to the Falcons here. So Matt Ryan, we don't love it in this matchup because we're not expecting Julio Jones to be there, right? Julio Jones has missed practice pretty much all week, and I don't think that even if he's out there, he's going to be anywhere near 100%. We've already seen that guys like Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage can struggle when Julio Jones isn't out there, soaking up a lot of that coverage, and that totally makes sense. So I'm not thrilled if I got to play Matt Ryan this week. You may have to, depending on your options. But like I said, we'll get to him later. But there's going to be other streaming options that you're going to like. Maybe not just as much, but you're going to like them anyway. So, Matt Ryan's a little bit of a question mark. You want to play Todd Gurley. He's getting the high value, carries inside the 5-yard line. He's getting into the end zone, and he's getting just enough usage that, it's really hard to take him out. So you're going to have Gurley in there, even though he's not killing it. He's still doing very well on a week-to-week basis, and he's getting the touches. So for now, it's really hard to take him out of your lineup. And then on the outside, so Julio, it's kind of tough with the injuries here. I'll see if there's any kind of update on Julio. Still questionable. Looks like a game time decision, for a 1 o'clock start. I don't know. Just listen to it. Even if Julio is active at this point, I'm a little bit worried about it, even in a good matchup. So it all depends on what kind of risk you want to take, with your lineup this week. Calvin Ridley, he's going to be in your lineup. I know he had the goose last week, and that's brutal. But he's healthy, and you can't expect that. You have to have him in your lineup. He's still the number 1 wide receiver, even after a goose last week. So you're going to have him in your lineup. Go ahead. Russell Gage, I'm not that high on. He's in a low-end wide receiver 4 expectation for me. And Hayden Hurst, it depends on where you drafted him and what your options are. But he's outside my top 12 tight ends this week. So he's definitely not a must-start for me by any means. But he's an okay start if you don't have a top 5 guy. He's a decent dart throw like anybody else is. I think his value increases slightly with Julio Jones out. But, who knows? Who knows with the way these fucking Falcons have been playing and what their decision-making is like these days. So, we'll just have to see. All right. We're going to keep it moving here. We're going to run through these. So we've got 7 games today, 7 on tomorrow's show, which will be later today. All right. Here's a fun one. Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City Chiefs. 4-0, going to be hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Raiders, listen, they're not bad. They weren't bad last year. They're well coached, and they just have a good team. They're 2-2, and that they have no wide receivers. They're working with not a lot right now. Derek Carr is just kind of piecing it all together. So, it's been a little bit of a struggle on the offensive side. It's all going through Darren Waller and then through Josh Jacobs to a slightly lesser extent. If I'm thinking about playing Raiders here, Derek Carr has just got an awful history at Arrowhead, especially recently, and without his weapons, I just can't see it. I know people say, oh, well, Chiefs are going to be up big, and then you're going to get the garbage time, but it really hasn't worked out that way for people playing the Chiefs, so I'm kind of off of that. So I'm going to stay away from Derek Carr. You got to play Josh Jacobs in here just because of the volume, and the Chiefs aren't great against the run. They're definitely better against the pass, so again, I hear you with the game script, and maybe if they're down, he loses time in the second half. But I'm not sure about that. I think he's going to have enough work that you're going to need him in your lineup. And then for me, it's just Darren Waller. I know Hunter Renfrow can be a somewhat, sneaky play as a flex wide receiver 3 kind of a guy, and he just may turn out to have those numbers. But I think the ceiling's very limited with Hunter Renfrow. And then Henry Ruggs is also rumored to maybe be back on the field. And while I loved his potential in that one little half of a game that he looked good in, can't play him this week, right? So you can roster him for sure if you got the room. You can put him on your bench if you're not struggling on your bench. But other than that, I'm not thinking about it for this game. For the Chiefs, Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys are playing Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. You're playing all 4 of those guys every game. There's no reason to think you're not. Outside of that, I think he definitely can play Sammy Watkins. For me, the amount of work he's gotten, honestly, gives him workability every week. It just does. He's getting the targets, and I know he's not the best with them, but you got to feel like, hey, some of those are going to, wind up in a good spot. And I think he can get in the end zone this week. So I'd rather play Sammy Watkins over Mecole Hardman. I don't think either one is a must-start by any means, but I'm really good with playing Sammy Watkins this week. So just want to look at his game log really quick, look at his targets. 9-3-8-7. Yeah, and now he's playing Vegas. I'm going to take Sammy Watkins this week. I think you should go ahead and get him in your lineup. All right. Let's see here. Who else we're going to start this week? Let's go Arizona at the Jets. Thankfully, this game is no longer in any kind of danger. It doesn't seem like there was a false positive for COVID with the Jets, and looks like we're going to move on as expected here. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. So first of all, fucking hey, man, what are you guys doing with Kenyon Drake? I'm very biased because I was in on Kenyon Drake. I went against, a lot of people that were, very against him, right? He was one of the bigger, I think, variants of opinions in the offseason. You had people saying he's a bum, no way he's going to be near RB1, and then people that were, putting him in the top 10, which is close to where I had him. I think I'm going to be 11 for preseason. Either way, I've got shares of Kenyon Drake. I'm not fucking happy about it, and I don't know what they're doing. As soon as he gets off the field, boom, Chase Edmonds gets the opportunities that Drake should have. Now, when I look for the evidence of why they should be doing more with Drake, it's because their offense looks like shit right now. There's really not a lot of continuity. There's not a lot of explosiveness. Their yards per play is horrendous unless Kyler Murray's running the ball. So, quite frankly, I think getting Kenyon Drake more involved benefits everyone involved, me more than anyone, thankfully, but really gets everyone a little bit more involved there in Arizona. I think it opens up the pass game. It opens up everything. Their offensive line sucks. And really, they should be using Kenyon Drake more as a weapon out of the backfield. So, listen, the matchup was supposed to be great last week. He fucking sucked, right? And then the matchup was supposed to be great this week with the Jets. At this point, if he's not good this week, I don't know, man. I don't know what you do with Kenyon Drake next week if he's not good this week. Let's just hope we don't get there. And then thankfully they just run him out there with 20 plus carries, 5 or 6 targets plus, and get him in the end zone once or twice. We need that shit this week. Come on, Kingsbury, let's go. Fuck. All right, Kyler Murray, sorry, I skipped over it, but you're playing him. It hasn't been, amazing, but he's good. He's been great. Was he a top 5, top 6 quarterback, which is right where he was drafted? He's, right around the top 5 here, depending on your scoring system. He's getting it done on the ground, 265 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and, doing okay in the passing game. He just had 3 touchdowns, so that bumped him up a little bit. 5 interceptions is a little worrisome, but, you're playing Kyler Murray. You're playing DeAndre Hopkins. And for me right now, that's it. I know Christian Kirk got into the end zone, and, there's been targets to go around, but in most games, it's really just been DeAndre Hopkins getting the bulk, and you're hoping if you play someone else, they get a couple of targets and maybe get into the end zone. And then also, I guess the question, I guess I skipped over it when I was talking about Kenyon Drake, is Chase Edmonds, because he has been playing well, and they are basically back-to-back in points scored in PPR. And, I guess if you're thinking that Kenyon Drake's going to have a breakout week, then you also can't say to play Chase Edmonds. So I'm going to say sit Chase Edmonds this week, hoping, banking on the fact that Kenyon Drake's going to have that big blow-up week here. So we need it. We need it bad. All right. Talk about the Jets. So we know Sam Darnold is out just to compound the bullshit on top of the Jets team here. So you're going to have Joe Flacco out there. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Jameson Crowder's back. It looks like Le'Veon Bell, they're saying, is going to be activated from the IR and he's going to be playing. And so that's probably the biggest question mark on the team, because I think at this point, I think you sit everybody else, even though they're at home. I don't want to play Jameson Crowder because I don't see it with Flacco yet. We know Darnold, peppers Jameson Crowder with targets, but we haven't seen it from Flacco yet. So I'm not going to go ahead and start him on the off chance they also throw him 12 plus targets. But Le'Veon Bell, do you start him? That one's fucking tough. They say he's coming off. They say he's healthy. If you assume he's going to have 15 plus carries and 3-4 plus targets, it's hard to say that you don't play him, right? It's all about your other options. If you're asking me where I have him ranked, he's in like the mid-tier running back 3 range. So by no means a must start, but an absolute can play kind of a guy on your roster. So I'd like to wait, but I know that the running back situation is pretty fucking hairy for a lot of you out there. A lot of bullshit going on with running backs. So, you may wind up having to play him. It sucks with the running backs right now.
I've seen some pretty shitty situations in my life. but nothing has ever sucked more ass than this.
You said it, Billy Bob, for real. All right, so I mean that's it with the Jets. Honestly, I'm not playing any Jets. It's just how it is. So I'm going to move on to the next game and just forget about it. All right, who do we got? The Eagles and the Steelers. The battle of where are we? Philadelphia? Yeah, no, Pennsylvania. Shit, sorry. Yeah, well that's why I do fantasy football, right? So the battle of Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Pittsburgh, taking on the Steelers. And listen, lots of storylines here. Philly has sucked. They're just playing terrible right now. They're injury riddled. They have no wide receivers. Carson Wentz can't get going. Miles Sanders can't get going. It's a whole bunch of mess in Philly right now. So they're going to Pittsburgh on the road, play one of the best defenses. And, you definitely don't want to play Carson Wentz in this game on the road. You still don't have Alshon Jeffrey. At this point, I don't think you're going to have Deshaun Jackson, at least not anywhere near 100%, which I don't know how much it would matter if he was, honestly. So you're looking at Miles Sanders, Greg Ward, and Zach Ertz. Ertz looks, kind of slow and not able to separate, like he once was, which was never really that much. Let's be honest here. It was never his game. And Greg Ward is, what he is. He would be something if he was already. He's an okay piece, and there's always the chance at volume. But if you rolled those dice last week like I did, you failed, right? So, screw that shit. Miles Sanders is the hard one because, hard to say that you're going to sit Miles Sanders. It's all about your options. But Pittsburgh's giving up like 2.25 yards a carry or something shit like that. They're not giving a lot in the receiving game to running backs. And Wentz looks like trash right now. So, I'm flirting with it right now. Let me line it up for you who I'm thinking about playing. So I've got Miles Sanders, and then I've got Antonio Gibson on the bench, and I've got Joshua Kelly on the bench. And it's really, really, it's definitely up in the air for me still right now who I'm going to play. And yeah, honestly, I'll probably keep Sanders in there. With the quarterback change in Washington, we'll talk about it when we get to the next game here. I like Gibson's chances at catching a lot of balls because we saw him throw to McCaffrey a lot. But, let's be honest here. You have Miles Sanders in your lineup and on your team. He's probably starting for you. So, all right, let's move over to Pittsburgh. And yeah, I think you can start Big Ben. I know that the front seven has been really good for Philly, and they get after the quarterback a lot. But I think at home, with everybody now healthy, they had an extra week to heal. Both the wide receivers, talking about Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster, I think they're going to be a good play this week. So I think you're playing Big Ben, James Conner, Juju, Deontay Johnson. And then the question mark here, I think, is Ebron. He's looked better, lately. And, okay matchup here, for a tight end. I don't know. He's not inside my top 12, so he very well could get into the end zone, but I'm not looking at him to be a top play. He's getting a lot more talk lately. A lot of the pundits and such are talking about him. But I'm going to wait. I don't love touchdown-dependent tight ends. I'd rather think I'm going to get 5+ targets a week and hope I'm going to catch 4 balls than hope I'm going to get, 2 balls for 28 and a touchdown. So that's how I'd rather get my 10 points. I like the Steelers in this game here. Not a very high over-under, only 44. Not surprising. But I do think you're going to get enough out of Pittsburgh's offense to play all those guys. So, all right. Where are we going? The Los Angeles Rams traveling to D.C. to take on the Washington football team. And Washington, the big story here, they have now sent Dwayne Haskins, first-round draft pick Dwayne Haskins, to the bench in favor of Kyle Allen, who, of course, is familiar with Ron Rivera's system from their time in Carolina. And I believe I heard that Alex Smith is the number 2 officially, which to me is a little bit surprising. But, who knows if Allen were to go down, if Smith would be the one that came in. We know Dwayne Haskins knows the first string offense, so he easily could go in. So either way, that's the big news in this game. We're going to start with the Rams, though. I don't like starting Jared Goff in this game. I know that they didn't look good last week, and I think Sean McVay is kind of out to make sure that the offense gets going a little bit this week, and they very well might. But I still don't think that means a ton for Jared Goff necessarily. I mean, I think his ceiling is low, and I do think that, sacks and fumbles could be there with the strength of Washington's front seven, especially their front line. They're going to be getting after Goff's ass, that's for sure. So I don't really like playing Jared Goff. And then the running back situation. I know a lot of people were playing Darrell Henderson last week because he had the great week the week before, and when Cam Akers out again, and then you got screwed, man. I mean, Malcolm Brown once again was the main back in the backfield last week, even with Cam Akers still out, and it really, really fucked you over. I mean, a lot of people played Darrell Henderson, and it really hurt, man. So this week, I really don't want to play any of the Rams backfield. I just can't trust it this week. We do think that Cam Akers is going to be back, and I wouldn't expect him to have a ton of work, but they're going to get him mixed in a little bit again and kind of see what's going on there. So, you know, I mean, he had, what, eight carries last week after 20 the week before and only one target. Yeah, that's kind of brutal. And he didn't do anything. He had 2.8 yards per carry, 22 yards. So, pretty brutal game for Darrell Henderson. Now, let's talk about the wideouts here and who you're going to play. You're going to play Cooper Kupp. You're going to play Robert Woods. Not the best matchup, but you got to get these guys in your lineup. There's always a chance for them to have a big week. Any week, and the floor is always pretty high with these guys. So get both of them out there, and yeah, get Tyler Higbee out there. Go ahead and keep playing him. I know it's been a little up and down, but give Higbee a chance. I think Higbee's going to have a good week this week, and you don't want to miss it. All right, talk about the football team. It's like, you know, it reminds me of the band. One of my favorite fucking bands of all time, right? And I didn't really know about them when I was really young, and then, you know, got into them, I guess, in my early 20s maybe. And, you know, I always thought it was funny. They're called the band. And now it reminds me of the Washington football team. Every time I fucking hear it, that's what it reminds me of. So, shout out to all the band fans out there. Little Ophelia love. All right, so, as I said, all right, Kyle Allen is going to be starting this game, and I'm not ready to obviously think about him as a streamer yet. I think it's a slight upgrade for the offense, possibly. He was okay. He was playable in a number of weeks last year as a streamer. But let's see what happens with this offense here. Now, I did mention the bump for Antonio Gibson. So I do think the overall control of the offense and maybe some more consistency can help just the offense in general and will help Antonio Gibson. But the amount of targets that Kyle Allen threw to Christian McCaffrey last year is the biggest thing for me. And the fact that he's willing to use a running back and a great pass-catching back, which I'm not saying Antonio Gibson's great yet, but he seems to excel at pass catching, and I think that, you know, there might be a really quick connection here. And with Allen's first game in, he might be more willing to dump the ball off, especially with Aaron Donald up his ass all game. So, you know, I think this could be one of those games where you see 6, 7, 8 receptions for Antonio Gibson, and that's exactly why I'm thinking about playing him over Miles Sanders this week. And, you know, listen, I'd love to hear from you. It's, you know, this show's going to come out Saturday afternoon, so I know it's a late one this week, but shit, tell me if I'm crazy here, but I'm really, really thinking about playing Gibson over Sanders. And then Terry McLaurin, absolutely you're playing him. No matter who the quarterback is, no matter the matchup, get him in your lineup. You know, he's their main weapon out there. He's awesome, by the way. I mean, you watch this guy play, and he's, you know, bigger, faster, and stronger, just like DK Metcalf. It's just unfair. But you're going to have him in your lineup, and really that's it. So, you know, for Washington, you're not looking at anybody else. Steven Sims, I think, just went on the IR. And, you know, Logan Thomas had that, you know, target share with Dwayne Haskins, but now you have Kyle Allen. So I'm going to wait on everybody else. But I'm definitely willing to go ahead and play McLaurin and Gibson in this matchup. Obviously, if I'm thinking about playing Gibson over Sanders, I think he's a guy you want in your lineup. I think has every opportunity to be an RB1 this week. And, yeah, that's going to be it. That's my bold prediction this week. It's going to be Antonio Gibson as an RB1 in PPR this week. Look for 6 or 7 catches, if not more, and a big game out of Antonio Gibson. So, yeah, I think I'm trying to talk myself into it. I may just have. All right. Where we want to go next here? Ooh, all right. This one could be interesting here. We got Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. So, you know, Joe Burrows looked really good. Now, this is a really hard matchup for him. It's his first time, you know, going to Baltimore. You know, Burrow's tough, right? You've been enjoying playing him. The numbers have been good, and he's kind of getting better. But I think you got to sit him here. I think you really need to think about getting him out of your lineup here. I just don't know if he's someone you want to have in. I don't trust it against Baltimore. In Baltimore, yeah. Well, let's stay away from it. Now, Joe Mixon, on the other hand, get in your lineup. Don't think that you're going to get, RB1 production out of him this week. I just don't see it that way. But he should be a pretty safe RB2 with the amount of volume that he's going to have. And if they do wind up down a couple of touchdowns, then that could, propel him close to RB1 with some extra targets, some extra receptions in the second half of that game. But you're playing Mixon. Now on the outside, it's tough here. I guess you're going to play Tyler Boyd because he's the possession receiver, and you think he's going to get the volume, and I'm fine with playing Tyler Boyd with the expectation of low-end wide receiver 2, more like maybe a wide receiver 3. That's really it. I don't want to play T. Higgins this week, not because, the potential's there every week, right? You see him elevating, right? You see his game elevating, his snaps, everything. He's getting in the game more, so you like to see all that stuff. Again, it's just the matchup for me. I think that Baltimore's really going to slow this game down and run the ball down Cincinnati's throat. Really do. I'm not seeing a really high-scoring game here, even though the over-under is 50.5. And I could be wrong because, Baltimore could just score, go down the field and score, and that could definitely happen. But I see a slower-paced game here, and I just think there's not going to be that many opportunities. If Higgins scores a long touchdown, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm not willing to bet on it this week. So, and in Baltimore, Lamar, you're playing Lamar Jackson. It's, silly to talk about that. And, in the backfield, I think you played Mark Ingram here. I haven't been big on Mark Ingram throughout the year so far, but I think he's going to have a really good first half and probably get into the end zone again here in the first half and have 10-plus carries. And maybe if they're up, he won't have a lot of the work in the second half. That's possible. But I think he'll do enough work to deserve to be in your lineup in a kind of running back starved portion of the season right now. I think you're going to be okay playing Mark Ingram. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Are we playing Hollywood? I think it depends on your roster construction this week, and that's what I'm going to leave this one at for your owners. I think if you need boom or bust players in your lineup, then throw Hollywood in there. If you need floor, I'd keep him out. He's only getting 5 or 6 targets a game, so if that's a 2 for 35, that's really going to bust your lineup up a lot. So, want to make sure that shit doesn't happen, and get him out of there. Just, I don't know. You could have a monster game. Again, it's the outcome here is huge in variables for Marquise Hollywood Brown. If he catches 6 balls for 130 and 2 touchdowns, I won't be surprised. But it's all about what you need on your team. You need boom or you need bust or you need safe floor. And for me, that's all about Hollywood this week and his season so far. I have got a couple of shares of Hollywood. I haven't been thrilled with it. He's not in my lineup this week, so take that for what it is. And then Mark Andrews, absolutely in your lineup. We see the connections there, the touchdowns. Lamar Jackson looks for him when it matters, when he's close, and he continues to do that. So, all right. That's who you're playing in that game. Our last game for the episode is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. So big stories here. Also, we know Houston fired their coach and GM, Bill O'Brien, after an 0-4 start and quite a number of questionable moves and trades, let's be honest. They're down a lot of draft picks and DeAndre Hopkins, and they have David Johnson, who's been pretty bad, Brandon Cooks, who's been very bad, to show for it. And yeah, that loses you your job, man. I mean, 0-4, we all know they started with probably the most brutal fucking start to the schedule you can have, right? But it is what it is. And now it's going to be great because now they get a little bit of an easier game in the Jaguars. And so they can come out and look great in this game and beat up on the Lily Jags at home. Then, they're going to look good and it's going to be a feel-good story, the freedom of not having to coach, but who knows how much of that it really is. Let's start with these Jags and Gardner Minshew.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over them mountains?
That's right. Uncle Rico at his finest. And yeah, Gardner Minshew's a good stream this week. I know that he burned a lot of people, a couple times this year already as a streamer. And the potential is always there for that. He has those games where he's, just moving so fast and nothing's working. And he's on the road. And it could happen. I don't have him. I have him as probably my number 3 or probably number 4 on my list of streaming quarterbacks for the week. So, not all the way up there. And with only a couple teams on a bye, I don't think you have to play Gardner Minshew this week, but I'm okay with it if you do. James Robinson, yeah, of course you're running him out there. He's been great all year. He's getting all the work there. He's getting the passing work. He's getting the running work. He's getting the goal line work. He's getting the shit that you need to have a great fantasy year. And so far, he's doing that. So get him in your lineup. DJ Chark, of course, keep him in your lineup. The connection's starting to get there. There's already been some touchdowns, and then the targets were there last week, starting to find their way. And you want to have Chark in there. For me, he's a pretty solid low-end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, just like we saw last week. So get Chark in your lineup. Other than that, I'm out on everybody else for Jacksonville. I just think that the offense is, going through Robinson and Chark. Everything else is going kind of slow. So, guys like Chris Conley, Laviska Shenault, I know, there's a little bit of an injury risk. If there was no injury risk, I'd probably be a little more in on Shenault this week. I know he had a good week last week, but I'm just not sure that he's going to be totally healthy. And I hate those games. Nothing like watching your guy go down. Well, he's not on the injury report anymore. Is that true? Oh, let me see here. All right, so, yeah, I just want to put it that way, right? So if Laviska Shenault is off of the injury report, well, we're going to check right here. All right, looks like he's healthy. Okay. Well, yeah. So, listen, I think he could be a fine flex play here. They're obviously trying to get the ball into his hands in a number of different ways. You're using him a little bit out of the backfield. You're using him a lot in motion, different formations. So, hey, you probably expect him to touch the ball 6-7 times this game, and you're hoping for more, and you're hoping one of those gets in the end zone. But he's a fair play. He's probably going to wind up in my low 30s for wide receivers when my projections finish up today. So now that he's not injured, yeah, he's going to be in the low 30s. So playable as a flex wide receiver 3 kind of a guy. Eifert, O'Shaughnessy, I'm not playing any tight ends here. They've had a little bit of work, but there's nothing really you can do. So, yeah, you're holding off on that. All right. And Houston, it's going to be our last team of the show. What do you do here? Do you think Deshaun Watson now is going to be unleashed and have this great game? It was all Bill O'Brien. I mean, it could be Bill O'Brien's fault for bringing in the personnel, but it's not Bill O'Brien's fault for the way they played necessarily, right? Still the same coach, the same offensive scheme they've had. I know they're without DeAndre Hopkins, but it's not like you don't have weapons, right? People don't consider these guys bums. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, Randall Cobb. They're not considered bums by any means. Pretty talented tight ends, Darren Fells, Jordan Akins. So, this is the week for them to kind of come alive. They're at home. Great matchup with Jacksonville. You got to go all in on Deshaun Watson this week. If you drafted him, you drafted him in the top 6 or so for quarterbacks, and probably in the 6th round-ish. And you got to get something out of him. So this is the week. He hasn't been bad for fantasy. I don't know where Deshaun Watson is. I don't want to say he's been good. Has he been bad? Nah, he's just outside the top 12 or right around QB1, so not where you were hoping. But he hasn't been slaughtering your team by any means. So, yeah, get Deshaun Watson in there this week. Get David Johnson in your flex this week. I know Duke Johnson is back, soaking up a little bit of work, but as I said, let's just go with the narrative that Houston's going to come out and really try to show that they have some life to them. They're 0-4, they're going to come out with something to prove here. So let's go with that narrative and get some Texans in there. Get David Johnson in there. Get Will Fuller in there. Volatile as always. We know the deal. But get Will Fuller in there, and that's probably it. Keep it there. Watson, Johnson, Fuller, play the main guys. Probably hold off on everybody else. I was a little bit on Cobb last week, and then he bummed. It's just hard to predict with Cobb's usage right now, so I'm going to recommend staying away from Cobb this week. All right, that's going to do that. That was nice and quick, man. About 35 minutes. We're trying to keep it there, because what are we going to talk about? You just want to know who I think you should start, who I think you should sit, who I think you should sit, and a little bit about why, right? I mean, all this shit about everything else. Too many shows I'm watching go an hour and 10 minutes, for these types of shows going over 6, 7, 8 games, and man, taking a long ass time, trying to cut it down a little bit from that so you can just hear what you want to hear, man. Who we playing, who we not playing. That's it. All right, so that's it for this episode. Again, part 2 is going to be up later this afternoon. Get the rest of your starts and sits in, ready for tomorrow. We'll talk about all those night games, all those situations you need to be prepared for with COVID, with bench players, with injuries. Just know you got to be prepared this week. There's a lot of what ifs that are still on the table, even as of Saturday. These things are not set in stone. These games that are moved to Monday and Tuesday, right now they look really good as far as getting off, but we don't know. All right, so hey, if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, please. Always helps us to get a few more subs, and like and share the videos, all that good stuff. And if you listen to us, find us on anywhere where you listen to audio-only podcasts, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of little ones, right? I know my hosting site is Spreaker, which is awesome. Shout out for Spreaker. You can find it there. Bunch of cool things. So, all right, that'll do it. Take it easy. Talk to you soon. Peace.